Does it show recording on your end? Yeah, you should be good.
Yeah, it
Yes.
looks like good.
Thanks.
Okay, yeah. So today we're going to talk about what's your net worth and how to grow it. We talked about this a little bit last time. Like I said, my name is Vatsa and Deepali is going to be taking over the second half of this presentation. I wanted to do something a little bit fun and actually do a mentee. If anybody has done a mentee before, what that is you can either go to mentee.com. I have a slide. Give me 1 second. We are going to move this over. So you guys can see it. And I'm going to hit present. So if you haven't used Mentee before, no problem. We have the option to go to www.mentee.com and then you can enter this code 88812729, or on your phone, you can actually open up your camera app, scan the QR code and enter the code, and then you should be able to get into the room. So I'm going to give it 2 minutes for that. And if you can't get in, no worries. It's not anything crucial, but just try to get in if you can. And it looks like somebody's in. Two people in, nice. Okay, so keep joining. I'm actually going to go to the next slide. And basically, once you're in the mentee, I want you to enter or answer this question. Answer either one of the two questions, right? What are your goals? Or what do you want? What are you saving for? What's something that's on your list of things you want to save for? And then you can answer the question and put it here, and then we should be able to see people's responses. So that's the other thing. Whatever you're answering, everyone will be able to see, assuming this works. Okay, retirement vacations, nice. I was getting nervous that it wasn't working, but it worked.
So let's wait for a minute to see whether people are able to join.
Yeah, I'll leave this up.
Yeah.
So
Somebody is asking, can you repeat the instructions?
let me go back to the code. I thought the code shows on all the slides, but we'll go back here. So enter this code on this website, or you can use your phone. Well, you can use your phone for both, but if you want to be fancy and use the QR code, you can use that.
So if you do the QR code, you wouldn't need to enter the code. It will take you directly to the page. Okay. Yes. I think Shilpa just put the code and URL. So if somebody is not able to join, please look at the chat window. But I do see that 4 people is in.
Yes, so saving to retire in a few years, also college for kids, vacation and health. These are good goals. And then is anyone else answering? Or I think, oh, passive income monthly. Okay, that's a good one. House. Okay, I like it. They're coming in hot. Okay, nice. So these are all really good goals. I think a lot of times when I think about building wealth and building my net worth, I have to keep telling myself, like, okay, what's the goal, right? Like, is the goal to be rich? No, the goal is to be able, at least in my opinion, it's to be able to live the life that I want and not be stressed about finances. Oh, we got another, maintaining current lifestyle, steady flow of passive income and growth, college funds. Yeah, these are all really good. So yeah, I like always having that goal in mind, because I mean, you can argue like, oh, you can never have too much money, but like, what's your number that you need to be able to get where you want to go, right? And that number the number that I might think about might look different for someone else. Or for example, living in New York versus living in like Florida, taxes are obviously different. Little things like that, they all matter. They all play a factor into your into what your number looks like. So kids' education, retirement, financial security for my family, I like it. And all relatable, right? I think most of us on this call probably share a lot of these goals, if not all of them. Ooh, we got another one, retirement. Yes, I know I might get yelled at on this call, but me already dreaming of retirement. Nice, okay. Okay, let's go to the next one. So the second one is, what do you think of when you think of finances? When you think of the word money, or you think of the word finance, how does that make you feel?
What do you?
Okay, comfortable, somebody said in the chat. Yeah, feel free to use the chat as well. Complex, that's a good one. It is very stressful. Anyone else?
Very simple.
What
Critical,
do you think of when
important.
you think of finances?
Important, lots of planning. Yes, I like it. Scared, tensed. Okay, yeah. Anyone else have anything? I know we had 12 people answer the last one.
So from the first question, you can click the next button that will bring you to the second question.
Worried. Yes, thank you, Deepalanti, because I'm not sure what it looks like on the participants' end. Live life comfortably. Confusing. Wow, this is working pretty well. I'm impressed. Yeah, so that being said, a lot of these are generally like negative, stressed out, like don't really know where to start. And I think that's very common, especially being female. We don't know where to start. A lot of this stuff we're not taught in school. So that's why it's super important that, you know, you're taking the time, you're here, and then today we're going to talk about it. So I'm actually going to stop sharing, and I just wanted to thank everyone for participating in this. And I'm going to continue with our presentation.
I got it.
You can hear it. Okay.
Okay. So today we're going to talk about your net worth. So a way to express your financial health. Like, what is your net worth? We talked about this a little bit last time, but essentially your net worth is a number, and that number is almost like, oh, like, not, I don't want to say it's your value, but it is what you're worth, right? Like your assets, so what you own, minus your liabilities, so things you own, equals your net worth. So what is an asset? An asset could be the amount of cash you have in your checking account, right? And then your liabilities are, you know, I have a car loan. I have to pay off my car loan debt. So that's technically not considered an asset, even though I own the car and all those things. I owe money on that. So that actually would come out of my net worth. You know, when we think about it too, your income, expenses, priorities, all of this changes over time. So a lot of building your net worth ties into building your budget, which is what we talked, like I said, we discussed last time. So in terms of your budget, like how much are you saving? How much are you growing? Are you staying at the same number? Or are you going down? Are you going up? Honestly, it kind of varies, right? But that all depends on what kind of assets you have. So going forward, we're going to have everyone take out a pen and a piece of paper, or if you're on your computer, you can pull out Microsoft Excel, whatever works for you. But I want to take some time and list out, what are your assets? What are your values of those assets, if you know off the top of your head, in one column? And then in the second column, your liabilities and the amount that you owe on those liabilities. So for example, if you have a credit card and you know you have $950 sitting on your credit card statement that you owe, then that would be considered a liability. Versus, like I mentioned earlier, if you have $500 in cash, then you want to be able to see, oh, that's how much cash I have, and then so on. So things that are considered an asset: cash, certificate of deposit, money in your savings account, money in your checking account, and any investment accounts, which I know the market's been down lately, so I haven't personally been checking my accounts lately because it's too painful. Your retirement account, your real estate. If you own your car, what is your car's value? So that's different than the loan. That's the actual value after miles driven, things like that. That's what that means. And the same kind of applies to jewelry, right? Like if the price of gold goes up, then your jewelry is worth more, versus if it goes down, then it would be worth less. So if you know those numbers, I think today we can check the price of gold later, but items like that are all things you would consider in your asset bucket. Then in your liability bucket, like I said, it's what you owe, essentially your debts, right? So credit card loans, car loans, mortgages, any personal loans you might have taken out, student loans, if you have payday loans, any cash advances, do you owe debt to the IRS, or any other type of loan, or a business loan, or anything that you might have. And again, like business loans would be considered in your business, but there are instances where if you've taken something out, then that kind of accounts. So things that you can think of that you might owe money on. Let's say Deepali Auntie owes me $5. She can add that to a liability on her liabilities list. So let's just try to list those out and take a few minutes for that. Because I know it's easy to attend these presentations and then forget about it. So we said, let's do it here today. Some fun.
And if you did it, do the thumbs up, send the reaction using the Zoom. Yay, 1 thumbs up. Awesome.
Like it. Oh, how do I close this?
Or even you can mention in a chat window. Anyone else still working on it? Need more time, or can we continue?
And I think you're allowed to come off mute in this instance. If you need more time, just yell at us.
Very good. Another thumbs up.
I like it. So again, you don't have to finish this totally in these 5-10 minutes, but definitely something, at least now that you've started it, hopefully after this presentation, it's something that you finish. Because knowing this number is very important. So we're going to move into what is this number, right? So if your liabilities increase without growing your assets, your net worth will decrease. And if your assets and liabilities stay constant, the value of your net worth will still decrease, as year over year, inflation will reduce the monetary value, right? And we're seeing that today in potentially a recession caused by inflation. So that's why knowing this number, figuring out, okay, how do I make sure I am making it go up as much as possible? Because even if you say, hey, I'm not going to do anything, I'm going to keep it the same, you're still losing money. So that's something very important to keep in mind. Oh, also, I just realized I wasn't sharing the right screen. There you go. So now you can see it. Like I said, we want to make sure that we're increasing, not keeping it same, not letting it decrease. So the question comes, how can I increase my net worth? So ideally, you can reduce your liabilities, which means reducing your debt, or you can increase your assets. Let's talk about reducing your liabilities. We kind of talked about this last time when we were talking about budgeting, but in terms of liabilities, it's like, okay, if I have debt and I want to pay it off, how am I going to make a plan to pay off my debt, because with debt, you're paying interest, you're losing money there. So in this case, when you're paying off, the more you're paying off your loans, you're actually paying yourself to some degree, right? Like, yes, you're paying your loans back, but you're paying yourself because you're getting that much closer to being debt free, where you can take that money that you're putting towards your loans and put it towards buying an asset or investing or other things like that. And then, like I said, reducing your debt automatically will help you reduce your liabilities, versus increasing your assets. That's like when you're buying a security or you're making more money, and things like increasing your assets can even be getting a new job, right? Like, let's say you have a job offer for something that's paying you significantly more, or even a little bit more, then taking those life decisions into consideration is super important. One thing to also consider too is set your budget, right? I think it's really easy to think about this, but unless you know how much money you're putting away and saving, how much money you're actually spending, and how much money you're putting on your credit cards, you don't actually know these numbers. So a lot of this is just taking the time to sit down and do these activities, right? So budgeting, finances, once you have a hang of it, it's just like brushing your teeth. It's as simple as that. And I see someone said, is this going to be recorded? I believe that it's going to be recorded and put on YouTube. So that being said, we're going to talk about debt management. So last time we also touched on this, but reducing your interest rates, how can you go about that, right? There's a couple of different things you can do. You can shop around and transfer loans if that makes sense for you. Again, a lot of these things I would try to talk to a advisor. I would talk to an advisor if something seems a little bit too complex. The first thing that I forgot to mention earlier is I'm not a licensed professional and Deepali is not a licensed professional, but we can kind of tell you things you can do. So reducing interest rates, this is like shopping around, right? Before you take out a loan, you want to make sure that you're not just signing up for the first thing that you see. You want to make sure that whatever interest rate you're getting is the best interest rate possible, whether it's on a mortgage, a student loan, things like that. I've seen, at least from a younger person's perspective, when I was in school coaching people on finances, there were people who didn't fill out their FAFSA, and then they were taking out private loans. And that can be a huge difference in terms of how much money you're paying in interest. So those are always things to consider. In terms of college, make sure you're filling out the FAFSA, whether it's a mortgage or anything, really just shop around, see what's the best deal, and also make sure that you're always inquiring if there's any fees or anything that's hidden, because at the end of the day, a lot of these companies are trying to make money. You can also consolidate your debt. So here, this is a little bit of an interesting process. There's a couple of ways to do it. Sometimes I will say it might not be the best option, but in some cases it could be. So definitely something worth investigating into, but of course, make sure this won't hurt you in any way after, whether there's a fee or just checking on your credit, how it might affect your credit score when you're working with these lenders. And then pay extra towards your principal. So this is something that I mentioned earlier. For example, I mentioned I have a car loan taken out, right? So I don't want to make the minimum payment because ultimately I'll be spending more in interest. So if I'm able to make more than the minimum payment, I want to try to do that. Just because the faster I pay down this whole principal, the faster I can get out of debt. And then lastly, reducing your expenses. So this is where budgeting comes into place. Seeing what can you cut out. Do you have subscriptions that you don't really use? Is that something you can cancel? Unfortunately, today I feel like even Netflix, right? The price is going up. So then I'm really thinking like, oh, how much am I actually using this? Little things like that, always revising. Like I said, once you do something once with your budget, that doesn't mean it's set in stone. My budget changes from winter to summer in all the seasons because frankly, my expenses look different. I'm traveling more in the summer, or I have to buy Christmas gifts in the winter. So those are all things to kind of think about and constantly evaluate. So with that, I want to pass it to Deepali Aunty, and she is going to take the rest of the second half.
Thank you, Vatsa. Thank you. And great start on what's the net worth, right? If you can take away 3 words from what Vatsa said, one is a net worth, one is your asset, And second one is your liability, what you owe and what you own. So 3 words if you can, and that will help you take everything that Vatsa said. Now, one of the topic that Vatsa mentioned is how do we grow our net worth, right? Everybody is working towards living a fullest life, doing some of the things that everybody talked about, whether it's a retirement, whether it's a buying a house, whether it's saving for your own college or your kids' colleges, gifts for grandchildren, etc. But think of it this, if you have $100 and you keep the $100 in-house, you don't do anything, you think that this is my money. And after 10 years, will this $100 be the $100? Answer is no, right? Because inflation, the value of money decreases. So question is, how do we ensure that money that we have or the money works for you in addition to many of us who are working? So sometimes questions is being asked, do I really need to invest? And if yes, because if you don't invest, the true value of your savings gets decreased day after day, whether you spend or whether you don't spend. So let's have your money work for you in addition to you work somewhere else, either your business or you work for somebody as a job, right? Whatever it is. So that's the purpose of investing, increasing your net worth, increasing the money, the value of your money is the purpose of investing. And there are many multiple ways, how you invest. So next slide, Vatsa. So why are we talking about this, right? And we will touch a little bit more on some of the common mistake or the money mistakes that people make. But I do want to say that as a part of this, whole financial literacy initiative, what we see in terms of generally a lot of people, but this is very common in women, where money is something you would leave it to your, partner or your brother or any of the male figure in your life, whether it's a friend or a brother or a father or a husband, whatever. There is no interest around it. People like to go do the arts, buy the clothes or what have you. When it comes to money, it's like a boring topic. But again, sometimes it is stressful. But again, it is very, very important. And I'm pretty sure we would know somebody in our family over the last 2.5 years, it became very evident that things can happen in life, which is really unexpected, that leaves us in a hole in a life where we wonder, how am I going to take my life forward? So having the awareness, you may not manage your own money, but having understanding, having awareness is very, very critical. Sometimes people feel that, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. I don't know how to do it. I don't know whatever I will do, whether, that's the right thing to do. So it's a confidence in making the financial decisions. Sometimes we don't know whether we know enough about making those decisions or how the finances works, where we invest. Sometimes it is, people think about it, but they don't think about the overall lifespan. So in the beginning, we start thinking about it, but we don't think about our retirement or the time we have in life. Usually, if you look at this statistically, women live at least 5 years longer than men. So sometimes when people make planning, they don't consider that we as a woman, we live longer than men. This is on average, right? Sometimes people don't invest. I talked about it. Even if you don't spend it and you save it, just keep it as is without investing, the value of your money increases. Sometimes we don't keep emergency funds. As an example, you work, you lose the job. We are in a market right now where job is not guaranteed. People leave just because they want to leave. Somebody, you get laid off. Sometimes company change the direction. And then we figure out, oh my gosh, what do? I don't have enough cash in hand. Sometimes people feel that this is not the best time to invest, right? So think of it this way. Today, market is 100 points, 1,100 points down. And if you were to look at it, month ago, it was 600 points up. When market is up, people are afraid of investing money because they feel that everything is overpriced. And think about it, is this the right time or not? And we'll talk about, at least some of the things that I have done in my life or things that has worked for me. So from my personal experience, and then we'll talk about it, what can we do? So there is no right time. There is no best time to invest. You need to start at some point somewhere. And sometimes it's not investing enough. So these are some of the common trends that what I see, or some of the mistakes, I have made it myself as well. And I have seen some of my friends or the people that I interact with, have made some of these mistakes. So just wanted to call it out and say, don't overthink too much, but at the same time, don't just randomly go and invest because you heard today somebody talked about investing. Let me go and invest. Don't do that. This is something informed decision that you will have to make. Next slide, please. Cool. So how do you start, right? I just talked about it, that what would you do? Generally, before you start, it is super important to understand why are you investing? And when you're investing, some of the thought process on different factors that you would need to consider. One is a goal. Are you saving or are you investing? Do you want to make more money because of your retirement, because of college funds, because, whatever, right? Vacations or buying a house or whatever. You need to have a goal. Second area is risk tolerance. And this is very super important piece to understand. Every investment has some level of risk. How much risk you personally can tolerate is very critical. Some people are very bold, and even if they lose the money, they don't care. They are like, okay, it's I can sustain. Sometimes they say they have a big stomach to bear the losses. Sometimes people want to be conservative. What are some of the instances where you want to be conservative? Let's say you are saving for retirement and you are 60 plus and you plan to retire at 62. Let's say if you invest, really bullishly, and when I say bullish, meaning taking a really high risk, and something like this, today's day happens, market is down 1,100 points, you may reduce the value of your investment. And then you would be worried, oh my gosh, why did I invest the way I did? So you need to consider the risk tolerance, how much, and that goes into the time horizon, which means that your investment is for how long? Is it for 30 days to 1 year? Is it 2 to 5 years? Or is it 5+ years? Anything beyond 5 years is called a long-term investment. Market is up, market is down, and whatever that market is, whether you are investing in a stock market, real estate, buying properties, saving in a bank account, and we'll talk about, what are the different ways that people usually look for in terms of investment. But the time horizon, meaning when would you need your money that you are investing? When would you need that? And that's super critical. If you need the money within 1 year, you want to make sure that, there is a little bit of conservative approach there, right? So you have a time to recoup your losses. And then the last point that I would say is how much money you want to invest. Is it $5, $50, $500, $5,000, $500,000, or $5 million, right? Anything. Look at your personal situation and figure out how much. You don't want to starve your family. You want to meet your necessity first, and any additional money you would have, that's something you want to consider to invest. So having a budgeting, considering your net worth, what you have, having understanding what your goal is, how much risk you can take, how long your investment you want, and what is the money that you want to invest. Before you start investing in it, these are some of the criteria that needs to be considered. Just because somebody said you do investment, don't go and blindly invest that. At least that's the approach, I have taken. Okay, let's go next slide. So some of the examples, right, what I'm showing here, these are not the only ways that you can do the investment. These are some of the examples. You can go in a bank account, you can open the account, and you can save the money. Some people will say, why do I have to go in a bank account? I can keep money in home. Yeah, sure. Generally, you do want to keep some money in a house in case bank is not open when you really, really need the money. We are in a digital world. So many times, now you also, I think one of the seminar the JAINA Women's Committee had was around crypto. And we talked about the digital currency. And we also talked about different ways of transferring the wealth, or the money just through the digital channels. So yes, bank savings account is a one option that you can. There are a number of other ways, Venmo and what have you, Apple Pay nowadays. Just saving some money even in the house. Again, it's not making any money, so it's not the investment, it's more of a savings. The certificate of deposit, right, CD. When you know that I need to have this money, this is one of the safest investment. Bank will give you certain percentage if you keep that deposit for certain period of time. It's a guaranteed return. If you break it, and they ask you to guarantee that, okay, I'm gonna keep this deposit for 1 year or 3 years, what have you. And if you break ahead of time, then you lose the interest. So they ask for the time commitment. In return, they give you a certain percentage of it. So this is one of the safest one. Bear in mind that, in US, there is a limit, it is FDIC insured. So if you put your money in a bank or bank savings account, checking account, or certificate of deposit, it is federally insured. There is a limit on that. Other area to look at it is more in financial market, right? Which is stocks. Stocks is no foreign to anybody. Just in a one word, if I have to summarize what is a stock, it is the small piece of ownership. When company goes public, public meaning now they have that company, they are taking money and giving the little ownership to many different people, to the public, rather than having certain investor or certain people, they are now offering that ownership to a wider public population, right? I think a lot of people do invest in a stock. I will talk about and come back on, some of the different things. ETF, exchange traded fund. Before I talk about exchange traded fund, I will talk about the mutual funds. What is mutual fund? Mutual fund is collection of different investment, whether it is stock, whether it's a cash, whether it's a CDs, whether it's a bond, and we'll talk about what the bond is, but it's a collection. Somebody is managing that money for you. You don't have to worry about it, what that is, right? So that's the mutual fund. However, so ETF is exchange traded fund, as I said. And what is exchange traded fund? It's a pool of securities or stocks or a pool of mutual funds but that gets traded on exchanges just like the stocks. Mutual fund, usually that happens towards the end of the day. They get priced only once a day, depending upon how the market is. At the end of the day, the fund managers, and they will look at it. Okay, you know, how many different types of investment I have in this mutual fund. They will look at it, what the market activities are, and based on that, they will calculate the price of the mutual funds. They're professionally managed, and they allow the money to invest into many different types of investment, stocks, bond, short-term debts, etc. So ETF mutual fund, similar way, but ETF gets traded on a stock, traded on a stock exchange, just like the stocks, versus mutual fund, it gets priced only once a day. The next one is annuities. This is not something very, very common, but it is not uncommon either. It is basically the contract between you as an investor, and the company who will make the regular payment until you live. Usually annuities are much larger investment. You know, some annuities are smaller investment. They will give you regular payment, smaller regular payment. Sometimes those are 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, depending upon, you know, what annuities you take. But it is something, the contract between you and the company, that makes the regular payment to you until you live. And think of the annuities as a way to protect you if you live longer, right? People will say, what is the difference between the life insurance and the annuities? Life insurance protects you if the duration of your life is shorter. So it will protect you, your beneficiaries, versus annuities will give you a payment until you live. So that's another way of investing as well, right? Another option to invest. There are many other areas as well, you know, traditionally in the Indian community, a lot of times, you know, we buy a gold, which is the commodities. And, you know, that's also another good investment option. As you can see, buying silver, gold, you know, whatever, jewelry, etc. It's a safe investment. You know, market can go up, down. The gold prices usually don't change drastically. I mean, it changes over the period of time. If I think about it, 25, 26 years ago, gold price was $500. Now, if you look at it, it's $2,000, $1,700 to $2,000, right? But that's at 25 years. But it's a safer investment as well. So there are many different areas where you can start investing, many different ways. You can buy the real estate. In many areas, you buy your house, you live there, your area gets appreciated, your investment will get appreciated. When you go and sell the house, you will make more money. Many areas, market crashes and your house values goes down. So when you think about your net worth, remember the spreadsheet that Vatsa shared. It had the house value. If you have a mortgage, that's your liability, because that's the money you owe. But if you put the down payment, or if you put the money towards your principal, that's your asset. Because even if you sell your house, they will take the commission, they will take the mortgage that you owe minus the value of the house, right? So that's your asset. So many times real estate is also a good investment for some of the people who are in whichever areas are. Many people make that as a business, hotel industry, right? Buying a property or a warehouse, and then you rent it out to somebody and it makes the money. You pay your mortgage through that, minus your maintenance. So people use the real estate as well to invest and continue to grow your net worth. Next slide. Cool. So here is a little bit of, now that we understood that what are the different types of investment, right? But it's not that, okay, you just go and I want to buy and you buy, right? There is a mechanic in terms of how do you start, what do you need to do? So there are here in United States, you need to have different types of accounts where you can make the investment. Some things are non-retirement. And what is the non-retirement? You are not saving towards your retirement. It's not the account that will say, hey, you cannot withdraw the money. You cannot use the money right now. You have to wait. No, you can use anytime you want to. And one of those is a brokerage account. What are the different firms that can offer you a brokerage account, right? Many different firms. Your bank may offer you a brokerage, Bank of America, Capital One, what have you, Wells Fargo, or you can go to some of the brokerage companies, such as Goldman Sachs has, ability to do that. You can go Fidelity, you can go Vanguard, what have you. So there are different ways where you can go and open the account. Some will have a minimum investment requirement, some will don't. So one of that is a non-retirement account. Another one is the retirement side of it. What does the retirement means? This is the investment when you do. It will only allow you to withdraw the money once you retire, right? So there are also different tax implications as well. Again, take this as from an education knowledge perspective. Do a little bit more research on your personal situation. If you have a financial planner, they can give you a much more in-depth knowledge. But with all of this investment, there is a tax implication. And what is the tax implication? So from a retirement account standpoint, this is an investment that to use the funds for your retirement purposes. Is it not the regular, generally the 65, whenever people retire, generally the 65 years old is generally the retirement age. And it has, some sort of like a range of different investment options that, you can do. I talked about stocks, I talked about bonds, I talked about, many different things, right? If you have this account, it will allow you to invest into some of different financial instrument or financial types that you will have. So there are different types of it. There is a 401k. 401k is usually offered through your employer. So if you are working independently or if you are a business owner, it doesn't work that way. It is the 401k is the retirement account through your employer. But there is also the other way, IRA or Roth IRA, right? So that is the range of investment options as a standard brokerage account. The difference between the retirement account and a standard brokerage account, as I said, is the taxation. When you withdraw the money, when you gain, on your investment, the profit that you make, the money you contribute on a regular basis, there are some taxation rules around it. The traditional IRA, or people sometimes they just call IRA, what it means is you put the money towards that IRA, you don't pay the taxes today, but you pay the taxes when you start withdrawing, which means, you start the distribution in your retirement. You will be expected to withdraw the money when you hit the retirement age. And when you withdraw the money, you will have to pay the taxes on your investment and the money that on your contribution and the profit or the money you made on your investment. And think of it, if you pay, let's say $100 today, and you go 30 years down the road and you withdraw that money, that $100 can be, depending upon how you're investing, can be $10,000 or $5,000, right? So you will pay the taxes at the time, depending upon how much money you withdraw. The Roth IRA, it's something different. It is a flavor of IRA, but on a Roth IRA, you will pay the taxes today. So what does that mean? Let's say you make $100 today. You want to put $10 in your Roth IRA. If you file your federal taxes, or if you file your taxes, let's say you are in 30% tax bracket. You make the $100, you pay the $30, and after that $30, you will after the $30, you will take the $10 and you will put that money into the Roth IRA, which means you already paid the taxes on it, right? Because you paid $30. Versus IRA is you make $100, you take $10, you invest, you don't need to pay any taxes. Your remaining amount, which is $90, and you pay taxes on it. So in a previous case, you paid $30 taxes. In this case, you may only pay $27 taxes. So depending upon what your situation is, this is the option on IRA and Roth IRA. The next one is an education account. It's also called 529 plan, mainly used towards kids' education. So as a parent, you would allocate the money towards the higher education purposes. Funds from this account can only be used for the college or the education purposes. You cannot use these funds for anything else. So, people do that. Again, you don't pay taxes. So when people start talking about it, what are the different ways? I make $100. I want to make sure that I minimize my tax contribution. So these are some of the ways: 401k, IRA, 529. All of those things allows you to make the payment before you pay the taxes. And they have a purpose. 401k, IRA, Roth IRA towards retirement. 529 is for the education purposes. The next one, option from the account standpoint is, investment for kids, right? UGMA or UTMA. It is, so you have to be at least 18 years old to put this money as a guardian. You can put this towards your kids. However, the person who is investing on it, they become the trustee. But towards who you are investing it, that is a kids under 18 years old. And whoever is putting the money, they are about 18 years old. So it is more around, in trust for or in guard as a guardians, you are putting the money on that. So the next slide, please. All right. So question would be, how do I start, right? How would you start? Two options to do it. You can start on your own, or you can have somebody who will help you to invest and manage your money. In return, if you have an advisor who would manage your money, in return, they will take some sort of commission, which is okay. If you are newbie and if you want to start investing and want to take a little bit of safer approach, it may make sense that you have, advisor. A lot of information is available today online. But my, word of caution would be, don't blindly go and start investing. Learn, how you can do it. Understand your personal situation. As I said, few factors on, what your goal is, how much risk you can take, et cetera, right? So that those are very, very important factors to understand before you start investing on your own. If you do want to invest, on your own, there are many, many different options out there, as I said, right? There is the brokerage, you can go through your bank, you can go through Fidelity, Vanguard, E-Trades, lots of areas. Lots of these companies in a digital age are also providing a lot of material to read on it. Talk to your friends, what they have done, how they have started. Even if you have $100, that's okay. You can start and start with the smaller. If you're talking about the stocks, generally with the stock, when you buy, you're putting your money towards the one company, right? If that company goes down, such as Peloton. Peloton used to be much higher, more than $100 a piece, much higher value, stock value. If you look at it now, it's less than $20. It's around $15. So people who had put a lot of money, some of them may have lost it. So buying a stock is putting everything towards, one company. Company does well, fabulous. People who bought Amazon 20 years ago, which was less than $500, today it is more than, $2,000, right? So sometimes you make money, sometimes, you lose money. And stock, you need to have an appetite for that. So that's that. Next one. So some of the healthy habits, right? And I talked about this a little bit. One of the things I would say, and I have done this, and it has helped me tremendously, is a dollar cost average. It's a big word, dollar cost average. But what does that mean, right? I think we talked about before that people sometimes wait for the right time, and there is no right time. There is no best time. Dollar cost averaging means you invest a little bit, when the market is up, you invest when the market is down. Make those regular payments so you can reap the benefit, continuously when the market is down. And if it goes up, you are making money. As an example, when the pandemic hit, right, a lot of the entire stock exchange around the world, not just in US, around the world, it's completely shattered. But if you were to look at it, 2.5 years in the last February, March, April timeframe, market had bounced back and a lot of people made tremendous amount of money. So think of it this way. If you had bought it that time, you would have made money. You continue to buy even today, even the market is down today, buy it. Even if you had bought it 2 months ago, even the market was up, still you would make money if you are in a long term. But look at your personal situation, see it. If in a long-term investment, dollar cost averaging works. It works very well. I have done it and it has worked for me. I'm not losing on an opportunity, not waiting for the best time to invest. Take advantage of employer contribution, right? I talked about 401k. Many times the employers will match the money. You put, let's say you put $100, your employer would say we will match 1% or 2%. So this is the extra money you get. The only condition is you are supposed to invest, as well. So take the advantage of, employers' contribution as well. Is a free money. Don't lose it. It is an additional money that you get in your retirement portfolio. But Sa also talked about paying off the high interest rates, loans, whether it's a credit card, whether it is loans that you have, or whether it is the mortgage as you have, right? Look at it, talk to the right people. I would not say just blindly do it, in terms of mortgages, there is a whole closing cost involved with it. So you have to understand that if you are going for a lower interest rate and you are paying a closing cost, whether it's in your benefit or not, but it is an option to evaluate. Credit card, you can consolidate your debt and you can say, I have this company or this credit card bank, offering me a lower interest rate, do I need to consolidate or do I need to pay off that debt? Very, very important topic is diversifying, and why I want to really bring this here is because don't put your money in just one way of doing it. There is, and we can have the entire session on what does the diversification, investment diversification means. If you're buying a stock that is a different industry segments, whether it's technology industry, whether it is real estate industry, whether it is supply chain industries, right? So how do you diversify? Or you can say, I want to put my money into a mutual funds. I want to put my money into a bonds, or I want to put my money into stocks. Now, let's take a moment. What is a bond? Bond is the people are lending money to the companies or the government in return to a specific interest rate, right? So either the company, which is the corporate bond, or there are government bonds, right? So if you lend money to them, it's a loan. You are giving the money, you are loaning the money to somebody else, and they will pay you the interest rate. So diversify, your investment. Don't put all eggs into one basket. So that's super critical as well. If one segment goes down, you are still okay. Your investment is still safe into other. You don't lose everything in a one shot, right? You will have losses, but you will minimize your losses. And the last, word of caution or the habit standpoint, I would say is prioritize your goals. We may have many, many different things that we want to do in our life, but what is the most important thing that we need to achieve? So prioritizing your goals, where you want to invest, is very, very critical. And that is very personalized, to your own situation. So that's just, some of the lessons or some of the word of cautions from a habits perspective that, I have followed in my life, and I'm sure many of you have followed. The intention of today's session is to give you an overview of the different areas and the flavors. And if there are any specific areas that you want to dive deeper, we can have a separate session on that. So with that, I am finishing up, my side of the presentation as well. Turning over to you, do we have additional Mentimeters, right?
Yeah, we had one fun question, and I will present that in a second. Oh, yeah, okay. So again, if you've logged out, you're gonna go to menti.com and use the code 888-12729. And we are waiting for some players. So give us a thumbs up when you get a chance to get back in. Ooh. 8. Okay, we got oh, okay, so cool. Once everyone joins, everyone gets a little icon. So it looks like we have 2 people in. And if you pull it up on your phone or something, you should be able to go back to the window and just refresh. 3, ooh, a bumblebee. And then I'll wait till we get a couple more people. Just a pop quiz to see if you guys were paying attention.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really just one question. So let's see. Let's see. Ooh, 4 people, nice. And I know we have a Q&A, so I'm not gonna keep this open too long. I know there's like 60 something people on the call, but let's see, let's play. So when is the best time to invest? Look at your answers now. So the first is when the market is down. The second is when the market is at its top. And then the last question is consistently. Oh, you guys can see, right? Is it not working? Oh,
We can see your screen now.
oh, is it working now? I don't know what happened. My internet might be bad.
No, we can't. No. Yes,
There we go.
now we can see
Now you
it.
can see it. Okay. Hold on. Let me just do one thing real quick. Sorry.
Lost your screen again.
It might be my internet. I'm sorry. Well,
Yeah.
let's just go into the answer. I'm just going to share it real quick because I think my internet was cutting out. This is the right answer. So consistently every month, time in market versus timing the market. So 8 people got it right. Congratulations. And thanks for playing. So with that, I want to open it up for Q&A. So I know Shilpanti, you were monitoring the chat and we had a bunch of questions in
Yeah,
there.
the first question was it was from Rupal, and she asked if there were any apps for budgeting.
Yeah, so that's actually a really good question. I personally like 2 apps. Mint.com, they have an app and a website. And then the other one is called Personal Capital. Mint is owned by TurboTax, and it's actually, so it's bank level security. It's owned by TurboTax. They do sell your data. That's how they make money, but it's free. And obviously they scrub the data before they're distributing it. But that one I really like because I can connect my credit cards, my bank account, my retirement account, everything to this app. And then when I go to, I don't know, the Mexican pizza is back at Taco Bell. So let's say I go get a Jane friendly Mexican pizza. I can see on the app that, oh, I spent $5 at Taco Bell. So that's a good app to consider. And then Personal Capital is interesting. It's actually new. And I tried it. I like their interface a lot. They're kind of aggressive in selling you their products. So the guy called me and I just kind of like hung up. So if you do sign up for that one, you can expect solicitor calls, but generally the app is pretty good in my opinion. And then of course, what never fails is just generally doing a Excel sheet. So if you want to go old school, you can always kind of build out one, or there's plenty of templates as well. But yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. There was a next question was from Rupa Shah. It was, what are index funds?
What are what?
Index funds.
Oh, index funds. Is it the ETFs or just the regular index funds? So basically the index funds are as I said, right? The mutual fund is the underlying instruments are more around, when you have the index fund, the underlying instruments are more around indexes. The indexes is nothing but way of monitoring the activity on specific sectors. So there is an index funds on a NASDAQ listed securities, and they would monitor how the performance of the NASDAQ listed securities are. So index fund would monitor, some of these indexes, and they are priced, based on that. I will keep it simple here. I don't know the level of everyone's, but I will try to keep this very, very in a simple language.
Thank you. Our next question was, can you please explain backdoor Roth IRA? So what's a backdoor Roth IRA?
I'm not going to go into that in this session. Backdoor IRA is a very, very complicated subject. Not everybody is aware of it. The high level from that is, you can invest the money in a one retirement, and then you can transfer that money into a different types of IRA account that allows you to get advantage on the taxation side of it.
Yeah, and I will add to that, that pertains to people who are above the income limit. So I think it's this might not be exact, but you have to be making like over $145,000 a year. And then you would have, meaning you're not necessarily eligible for a normal IRA because those also have income limits. So just something to keep in mind, and not something to jump to if you're just starting out.
Yeah. I want to keep this, simple today so that we covered a lot of content. So it has as, some of the rules and regulations around who can do the backdoor IRA, how can you do it? There are some of the specific nuances around how you can handle the backdoor IRA.
Cool. Our next two questions were kind of related, and they are, what does UGMA and UTMA stand for? How does it work? And a related question was, how much people can invest for kids who are 6 months old?
Yeah, so the UGMA and UTMA it's called the uniform gifts for minors, and then there is a uniform transfer to minors, right? So there is a specific regulations. We talked about 529. 529, you can only use it towards the education purposes, versus UGMA, UTMA, it's more around somebody who is so small and you want to start investing, but they cannot manage it. But this funds, you would be the custodial or the investor who is investing on it. That person would be a custodial, and the beneficiary would be a kid. And when that kid gets older, 18 years and above, I think that's the 18 year is the age, then they will get the benefit of it and they can use it to whatever purpose they want to use it. There is no limit in how much. In a 529, there is only per year you can invest $5,000. With UGMA, UTMA, there is no limit, but it is more custodian, account that you would create. And your bank would definitely offer that. So check with them, whether they offer that.
Okay, perfect. Next is another related question. Do you put money in UGMA pre-tax, or is it post-tax, but withdrawal is tax-free?
It's a post-tax money. It's not the pre-tax, to my understanding.
Okay. All right. Next question was related to 529. So can grandparents contribute to 529? And another related question for 529 plan, how old does the student have to be?
The student has to be in a college. You can only use it for a college purposes, right? So generally, if a student goes to college, usually that would be around, 18 years of age. So usually from 529 money, the money, if you say that if your kid is going to college, the money usually goes directly to a college. There is a way that you can pay and then you can, ask for the reimbursement, but usually it's towards the college, higher education purposes. I have used it for my daughters and, didn't know about this, early enough, so never invested it. When we came to know, we put the money and we paid for it. $5,000 or $10,000 is not a whole lot, but it is still something that allows you to take the benefit of taxing.
So you can start as soon as the kid is born, kind of.
Yes.
There's no starting.
But you cannot use it, for the secondary school, which is elementary or middle school. It has to be for the college purposes.
Okay. All right. Another question was about your opinion on index funds. So somebody said that ARP has suggested to invest in index funds. Mm-hmm. And Rupa Shah is asking, what is your opinion on it?
I have invested in an index fund, so I would say that understand, the risk associated with the index fund. I would ask which specific index fund, your somebody who is suggesting, which type of index fund he is asking you, do the research and look at your personal risk tolerance, as well. I'll give you an example. There is a fund called TQQ, much higher risk, what you would and you would not. It's an ETF, very, very high. Even, some of the companies or banks that, who would offer you to invest in it, they will make sure that you sign the waiver, that you understand the risk associated with it. So any investment option, whether this or any other one, understand the associated risk with it. One of the best tool that I use, I go to finance.yahoo.com. I would put, what that fund, there is a symbol, right? Whenever somebody says that this is the stock or whether this is an index, it has a specific symbol, 3 letters, 4 letters, or anytime 1, 2, 6 letters. Put that in, bring up the page, see what people are talking about. Are there any news around it? Look at the expense ratio. Look at what the 6 months, 1 year, 5 years, return on it, what the price is going up and down. And based on that, assess whether that's the right investment option for you or not. If I am the one, who is the risk taker, I would go and invest it, but your situation may be different. So you need to understand that what you can and cannot do.
So thank you so much. The next question is from Mr. Girish, and he is asking for an explanation on high yield saving account.
Yeah, so those are essentially banks that are, if you save in them, they give you a little bit higher interest rate than your typical bank, like a Chase. So for example, I personally have a high yield savings account with Discover. That being said, it was really good before COVID because interest rates were a little bit higher. Then they slashed interest rates, and then now the return is lower, but it's still more than what I would get at a Chase or any like walk-in bank. And so what you have to think about is like your liquidity is still there, but the accessibility isn't, right? So for example, with Discover, the reason they're able to offer a higher interest rate is because they don't have overhead costs like having the branches, right? So that's how they're incentivizing you to put money into their account. So like I like the high yield savings rate with Discover because I can't just walk into the bank and take out $20 from that account whenever I need cash. So it's almost good because the money is there and you can definitely still access it, but it's less accessible in the sense like with a Chase, you can just walk in and out and have your money or immediately take out that cash. So I personally keep my emergency fund in a high yield savings account, but again, it's only my emergency fund and cash that I need, and then I try to put as much cash as I can into buying assets, kind of like Deepali mentioned earlier. So just one thing to consider, like what are you comfortable with and how much you want to keep. So those are all good things. Last time I shared a website, nerdwallet.com. I really like this website because it'll actually show you best banking. So I can go to high yield savings accounts here and then let me know, hopefully you can see my screen. So then it'll tell you, right? Like right now it looks like Marcus is offering a 0.7% interest rate, which is kind of nice. So, and then it gives you the comparison. So like Discover isn't on this list. I opened this years ago, so I just haven't moved my money. But these are all options. It tells you, if there's a fee or a minimum balance you have to have, things like that.
Perfect, thank you. Another question from Amtabian was, where will be a good idea to invest in today's market?
What would be a good idea in what? I'm sorry.
To invest in today's market.
Oh my God. You asked me today, I would say that I am a risk taker. So I like to go and, market is low today, right? So any fund that you buy, whether it is tech is my favorite. I am in a tech market. Tech is my favorite, but tech was very, very highly overpriced, but now it's coming back down. So I usually go with ETFs and I invest because I can distribute, my risk. So crypto is another one. Don't go with the crypto in a specific way. There are crypto funds, who has a really good outlook in the future. So depending upon, when you invest, when do you need it? If you're looking for a long-term investment, there are many, many options. If you're looking for safe, any Fortune 50 companies, any Fortune 100 companies, they will be much safer. There are also different types of stocks, right? Some of the stocks whose price may not increase as quickly as you would like to, but they will give you the interest, every time. So, sometimes people like to invest in it because not their price is fluctuating that fast, but because they get the dividends, on those stocks, and those are called dividend stocks. So depending upon, what your situation is, how long you want to do the investment, there are a lot of different criteria that comprises. But look at that. Health is another area where companies have done tremendously, especially the couple years ago when the vaccine was much higher in demand. Those health stocks or the pharmacy companies have done really, really well. So depending upon, what your need is, how your existing investments are, depending upon diversify, you already have high risk and you want to save the money, save in a safe way, then I would say go with the bonds and everything. So depending upon the personal situation.
Okay, thank you. My last question here is, with the current bond market, would you want to wait before investing in bonds?
I never wait.
Yeah, I wouldn't wait. And you
I
get
would
I think
never
there's a
wait.
tax benefit, right? There's a tax benefit up to $10,000, I believe.
So you never wait. As I said, there is no best time. If you're unsure about whether to invest or not, start small. So that way you would distribute your risk. Start small and then do on a regular basis. So now you are part of the journey when it increases or decreases.
Okay, I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. So I'm not sure if anybody has a question that they have not put on the chat or would like to ask. But if not, then I can turn it over to Mamta Ben to do the closing remarks. Oh, hold on, one more new message. No, it's just a thank you. So Mamta Ben, please take over.
So can I just say one word? I really wanted to thank you for JAINA Women's Committee for giving us, me and Vatsa an opportunity to present and, bring our knowledge and share that with everyone in the community. So thanks to the entire Women's Committee. I know, it's not easy to work with different individuals with their schedules and what have you. And it's been amazing.
There was one last question that popped up right as you were speaking, Rupali Ben. Would you recommend long-term bonds or short? We can keep this short.
Long-term bonds or depends, right? So if the long-term bonds gives you higher yield because the company is or the government is taking your money, you are lending it for a long term, right? Versus the short term. So depending upon, interest rate and what you are looking for. But I am not a big bond investor per se. As I said, I'm a little bit more risk taker. So my investment usually is in ETFs, funds, or stock side of it. And I diversify my portfolio based on which industrial sector I would invest in. Vatsa, do you have any recommendation on that?
I would like to know, may not be for today, but maybe there are sector rotations and other things happening, and maybe we could talk about that some other time.
Sure, definitely can.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, nothing to add, Deepali Aunty. I think you answered that very well, and I would have said something similar.
I'm just going to keep we are almost at time right now. So Mamta, do you want to do the closing remarks?
Thank you so much, Vatsa and Deepali Ben, for your excellent presentation. And we are very, very thankful to all the people who have joined us today in this financial seminar. I'm sure that somebody must have taken something good for themselves and learn something. And we have the next financial seminar on 15th of June. So please mark that date for yourself. And the subject is going to be money mistakes to avoid. And it will continue with what we have the presentation into that presentation and more information to you. So please do not forget to join. You will be receiving the information from us through the JAINA newsletters and our individual chat groups. So please look for those. And thank you very much, the whole committee. They have worked very hard, my own JAINA Women's Committee, and I'm very proud of it. And thank you everyone for being there. And
what will be the time for the meeting?
So that is one good question. I think the Parliament, you would like to keep it at 8 o'clock starting
Yes,
time.
please. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Because last time we had kept at 7:30, but now they wanted to keep it at 8 because it's easier for them to come from work and do it. So we will keep it at 8 p.m.
Thank you.
Please remember that. And any questions, anything, please send us your emails and we'll send it to you. JAINA, Women's Committee at jaina.org. Please write to us on that one and you will get all the information from us. Okay. Thank you so much, everyone. And Jai